Greetings and welcome back to Room 303 and our chats with Emily, as we are calling our readings through the poetry of Emily Dickinson. We're working with the Johnson edition and those 1,775 poems contained with that edition. We are now at poem 129, Cocoon Above, Cocoon Below. Now, this is again Emily as lover of nature, but also Emily as longer for knowledge. Right? She wants to know things, and in fact, that's going to be a significant word, know, at the end of this poem. Now, our assumptions are that you've been following our stuff at LearnStrong.net, down that left-hand side, Chats with Emily, our playlist, and I'm hopeful that you've already worked through our introductory set of comments, as well as our preceding 128 poems. We just finished with Bring Me the Sunset in a Cup, where, of course, that longing to know things is a part of that project as well. Now, Emily loves butterflies. She wrote over 50 poems where she referenced butterflies. She references butterflies often in her letters as well. Martha Dickinson, Emily's niece, actually points out that often she referred to her aunt's garden as a butterfly utopia because there were just so many butterflies. And so it makes sense that Emily will see the butterfly as a symbol. Of course, we're going to move from cocoon through chrysalis to ultimately the butterfly itself. And for Emily, that extended metaphor will be a powerful one. And of course, it will represent what? Transformation of any number of kinds. Let's just enjoy the poem. Cocoon above, cocoon below. Stealthy cocoon, why hide you so what all the world suspect? An hour, and gay on every tree, your secret perched in ecstasy defies imprisonment. An hour in chrysalis to pass, then gay above receding grass, a butterfly to go, a moment to interrogate, then wiser than a surrogate, the universe to know. Exclamation point, by the way, right? Now, Emily loves this metaphor of the cocoon. She's already, of course, used it in poem 66. We saw that already. In poem 354, she'll say, from cocoon forth a butterfly, as lady from her door emerged a summer afternoon, repairing everywhere. In poem 517, we'll come back to it. In poem 1099, she'll play a similar game. When we meet that poem, we'll come back to this poem 129. She says, my cocoon tightens, colors tease, I'm feeling for the air, a dim capacity for wings demeans the dress I wear, a power of butterfly must be. The aptitude to fly, meadows of majesty implies an easy sweeps of sky. So I must baffle at the hint and cipher at the sign and make much blunder if at last I take the clue divine. The clue divine is, I think, central to this poem as well. Notice, it's cocoon above, cocoon below, stealthy cocoon. Notice your trinities here, the repeating of cocoon 3 times. And then she'll ask, why hide you so what all the world suspect? In other words, for Emily, and I think she borrowed this heavily from her study of Plato, there's this notion that there's always stuff we long to know, but somehow hidden from us. Why? Because, of course, we live as prisoners stuck in a cave, looking at shadows on a wall, believing them to be real and all of that. We've given full lectures on that at LearnStrong.net if you're interested in all of that. An hour after from cocoon, and gay on every tree, your secret. Again, we're back to this notion of stealthy and secret. Perched in ecstasy, we've seen already her love of that word, ecstasy, defies imprisonment. In other words, freedom. And there is an argument to be made that I think one of the central features of Emily's poetry, although often not spoken of, is her love of freedom. That in some ways, this is what makes Emily and Walt so precious to us in the American tradition, in the American literary tradition, because they both love freedom. In other words, notice here, she says, you're in prison for a while, but not for long. And there will be a freedom. Now, of course, some have read this as the freedom of death itself, and Emily can get on to the enlightenment, the knowledge that she seeks, the last word of the poem, right? Or it can be coming to new ideas and the like. Notice the second part of the poem. An hour in chrysalis to pass. By the way, she's going to use this word chrysalis in 598. And it's going to read like this. She says, the waves grew sleepy, breath and did not. The winds like children lulled. Then sunrise kissed my chrysalis, and I stood up and lived. And in poem 970, she'll again come back to the idea of chrysalis. An hour in chrysalis to pass, then gay above receding grass. I have to smile at that one, given, of course, Whitman called his collection Leaves of Grass. Then gay above receding grass, a butterfly to go, exclamation point, right? This idea of transformation. A moment to interrogate. Now, I think that's a key word. In fact, to me, that's the key word of this poem. And I think that's one of the key words of Emily's work is interrogation. I want to know things. Notice the last line of the poem. A moment to interrogate, then wiser than a surrogate. Notice surrogate is in quotation marks and capitalized. What is the surrogate? And by the way, notice that surrogate and gay have a very similar sound to them, right? Surrogate. In other words, in life, we're often given surrogates that will explain things to us. Obviously, she could be thinking about science. She could be thinking about religion as well as surrogates, right? But for a split moment in her own life, she says, once you've left the cocoon, once you're a butterfly, once, she could be arguing, once you die, then finally you get to know the universe. And that's always going to be the goal, the universe to know. The challenge of knowledge and epistemological certainty, which is always going to be difficult, as we commented in our Big Five discussion in that intro set of comments. What is it that she's really saying here? I think in 2A she's saying that all of life is a preparation, a challenging, a longing to know, and to somehow transcend the surrogates and get right to the heart of the matter. At 2B, well, I love the word picture of the cocoon as turning in through chrysalis to butterfly, and of course the idea of transformation. At 3A, think about the power of the myth of the phoenix, as we've already commented several times in already her poems. This idea that the bird beds itself down and then, of course, will resurrect itself out of fire, and it will be out of that fire that one is ready to transcend, to move beyond. And there's so many places we can think about that. I mean, think about Yeats' Sailing to Byzantium, part 3, O sages standing in God's holy fires in a gold mosaic of the wall, come from the holy fire, purr and energize and be the singing masters of my soul, consume my heart away, sick with desire, and fasten to a dying animal that knows not what it is, and gather me into the artifice of eternity. I think in that poem, Yeats was actually channeling a whole lot of what Emily says in a poem like this. Finally, at 3B, what was a time that you were able to see your life as moving from cocoon to chrysalis to butterfly, and finally to gain some knowledge that really was useful? I'm hopeful that your study of Emily's work is that. Thank you.